Hello there folks, back again for another video. In this one we're going to be talking about the brand new reveals and stuff that popped up for Warhammer Age of Sigmar over the last couple of days for the Orruk War Clans and the Gloomspite Gitz really. So we got to check out a brand new set of miniature reveals for the game. Starting off with the Gloomspite Gitz, who are getting themselves an excellent new set of miniatures. While the Gloomspite Gitz kind of pledge themselves to Ulgu and the shadows and the misty bits of the mountains, where they call home, deep in the dank holds. On the other side of things, we also have the Hish using Gitmobs, as you can see here, who are going to be riding out onto the battlefields in all their glory very, very soon indeed. So yes, a brand new battle tome is on the way alongside an army set and more for those folks who want to dive into games as goblins of a different ilk, which I think is quite cool. So what they actually do is they use the power of Hish in order to hurt their enemies, and as you can see, there's a whole host of awesome new miniatures coming our way that have definitely got that feel of sort of classic goblins or hobgoblins of yesteryear in Warhammer Fantasy Battles, but with a new Age of Sigmar twist, and there are wolves aplenty throughout this collection, which I think is really cool to see. So let's just have a quick flick through all of the different miniatures. So they're all actually going to come as part of the, well, most of the new miniatures are going to come as part as the new Gitmob army set, which will be one of the new ones that's going to be used to kind of introduce players into the game. So if you're looking to pick up a particular Gitmob themed army, this will probably be a good start and will allow you to get them probably alongside the battle tome, I would imagine, at some point in the near future. You have a couple of wolf riding grots, goblins on the back of these, alongside chariots and all sorts of different things. A really nice little selection of miniatures there. They are led by a new character by the name of Drogs the Sun Chopper, who comes on the back of that fearsome looking creature that you can see there. Really nice kind of vibe for drogs, I think you'd say, especially kind of getting across that sort of Grom the Paunch kind of feel with a slightly fat goblin, which is really cool to see. I really like the design of these Gloomspite Gitz. I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job on them, really showcasing the kind of sculpting that the folks behind the Mortal Realms get stuck into. And also you've got some really nice magical sort of Mortal Realms-esque weapons in there as well, so it's not sort of like classic fantasy vibes. You've also got almost what looks like a little bit of realm stone that's been jammed into the top of a weapon there to use as almost like a war pick almost, which I think is quite cool. You've also got things like the Frazzle Git Shaman on the War Wheeler. So if you're looking to ride into battle with an absolutely crazy looking shaman, then you've got the options there, which I think is quite nice. Harks back to the classic Wolf Rider chariots and stuff from back in the day for Warhammer Fantasy Battles. There's also a Snarl boss on War Wheeler, as you can see, so that's another leader for you to use with flail at the ready to smash people aside as they fly forward. You've also got someone with a what looks like a flaming brand and some little tanks of oil that could be spilled onto the battlefield, perhaps, to hurt your enemies. And again, going for a really interesting vibe with the goblins there, where you've got slightly larger, paunchier goblins leading the way alongside the skinny ones, which I think is really cool. Here's your kind of like classic cavalry option that they've added into the game as well. So this is the basis of your force almost. They have said that the Gloomspites aren't actually going anywhere, so if you are interested in picking up more of the underground dwellers of the goblins, then you're able to still get your hands on those. But if you're looking to head up above ground, these are the ones to get your hands on. And of course you could do some mixing and matching if you see fit. But this is a really nice new set of miniatures. Once again, in the lore, I think they said that the goblins raise these wolves from birth, and they are sort of like all together as like a little triplet almost, which I think is quite nice, and sort of leads into some interesting moments on the battlefield. I'm sure. I'm sure plenty of wolves have eaten the goblins that have been their leaders. I say in inverted commas, but yeah, a really nice little set there with some absolutely fantastic design choices across the entire of that collection, which I think is really cool. You also have your regular Sunstealer Wheelers, so these are your sort of like big basic chariots for you to drop into the mix. Again, really nice wolves that they've done for these. I think I can see a lot of people taking these and maybe using them for Warhammer 40k alongside your Space Wolves, perhaps. New Fenrisian Wolves, maybe, might be a good idea. But yeah, some really nice little chariot sets there, armed with a variety of different weapons. So you've got spears, bows, and that sort of whip as well, and the sword on that guy. So some really good stuff on that front. And then you have the return of the classic Doom Diver, which is also a new addition to this little collection. Once again, a great little callback to Warhammer Fantasy of old, with an excellent new miniature showcasing a Doom Diver either being flung from the top or cranked into position, as you can see there. You also have a little goblin preparing at the side. And I love what they said in the background, that the Snotling is the only one who can be trusted with the mallet, because things can go terribly wrong. And rather than one of them losing their life, this guy does it instead. And yes, that bomb on the top almost is a charged Hishian weapon that explodes when it hits people, which I think is absolutely fantastic. But yeah, a absolutely awesome selection of miniature previews from the folks at Games Workshop for the Gloomspite Gitz, and I think they truly have outdone themselves. While I am a massive Eldar fan and I really quite like the reveal of the new Phoenix Lords, I think everything that comes out for Warhammer Age of Sigmar just has something interesting and new to it that kind of ties into the idea that I've talked about before, where I think Games Workshop feel hampered by the depth of lore and the accuracy they feel like they have to maintain with Warhammer 40,000. Whereas with Warhammer Age of Sigmar, I feel like the sculptors are unshackled because nothing is truly solidly written in stone in the Mortal Realms. And so for a lot of people in their design department, I think they can just have fun with their miniatures. And I think it really, really shows in the final products. But yeah, an absolutely massive new book coming our way. It's going to be a 128-page book packed with background information and more for the Moon Clans and the Gitmobs, alongside the Troggoth Horde and the Spiderfang. They've also said that there's going to be a full Anvil of Apotheosis in this set, obviously, as there is in all the new books. That will allow you to make a Troggoth hero, which you can't necessarily do unless you go down the kind of like named character route currently for the Gloomspite Gitz, which is very cool. But yeah, some absolutely amazing stuff coming down the way for the Gloomspite Gitz. I'm sure there are going to be very, very happy grots and snotlings out there in the world very, very soon. And an excellent little set of reveals for the Gloomspite Gitz on that front. On the other side of things, we also had a look at what's coming for the Orruk War Clans in general. So they are getting some excellent new miniatures as well, although not quite as many. But effectively, the greenskins of the Mortal Realms have been split down into two books. You have the Orruk War Clans, which contains the Ironjawz and the Cruel Boys. And then on the other side of things, you have the Gloomspite Gitz, as we previously mentioned. Now, so this is going to be a battle tome that contains both armies in it. So there'll be the Cruel Boys, and there'll also be the Ironjawz. And as you can see, a brand new book is coming down the pipeline. This will effectively cover both of the armies, much like, I suppose, the Gloomspite Gitz one contains the Gitmobs and the Moon Clans. But this will allow you to dive in and get your hands on loads of orky goodness. They are going to be... They've shown off one new miniature, which seems to be the way for the slightly more advanced factions in the game, as in advanced in editions and years that they've been in play, where you're going to get yourself the new Hobgrot Slitterboss, who is carrying a rather nasty, cruel-looking weapon there in his hands. I wouldn't hold that like that, mate. You're going to cut your fingers off. But there we go. But he is a new... He is a new... sorry, pardon me. He is a new hero who can be used as part of the Cruel Boys to lead your Hobgrots into battle alongside the rest of the regular Cruel Boys who are sneaking through the swamps. He is then backed up by a couple of new sort of terrain pieces that you can get, some feature terrain for both these armies. So you've got the Boss Rock Tower and the Scare Gob Tower, and these are kind of themed, are again both around the two armies. So you have one for the Ironjawz, which is slightly more manufactured, I suppose you'd say, and then a more ramshackle one for the Cruel Boys. And Weird Knobs and War Chanters can sit on top of those and use it to channel the power of Gork and Mork. Talking about the power of Gork and Mork, there's also a couple of new manifestations that are getting added to the mix, so you didn't necessarily have these before. So you've got things like the Foot of Gork and more popping up, which I think is really cool to see. So yes, all of that included as part of the new battle tome. Let's actually have a close look at some of the miniatures. So as you can see, really nicely miniature there. I think he's a little bit of a Marmite one. I don't necessarily like this version of him with the helmet. I quite like that version where he's unhelmeted. He definitely has a little bit more of a vibe to him, I think. But I'm sure people will do interesting things with the painting of this fellow to kind of like make him pop on the tabletop. And there are the two towers that we were just talking about. And the manifestations, including the very awesome Foot of Gork, as you can see there. Very cool. And that big swamp for people to get dragged into, which is a nice little addition. Last but not least, you saw it sort of like teased a little bit earlier. There's also going to be a new spearhead on the way. So currently the Orruk Warclans have a spearhead for the Cruel Boys, but there wasn't one for the Ironjawz. This one is going to be out with the release of the Battle Tome, and it will just basically sit alongside the Cruel Boys one. So the Cruel Boys one will not be sort of out of production, as it were. You'll still be able to use that. All the rules will still work with it. This will just be a brand new spearhead to add to the mix. And I gotta say, the Ironjawz, some of the coolest looking orcs that they've worked on recently, especially now they gave them that sort of update to kind of separate them from the classic Black Orcs of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, which obviously went back into the old world. So now everything feels a lot more meaty and hefty, and I think this is going to be a really, really fun set for people to dive into and pick up. I think it's going to be incredibly popular. So yeah, the spearhead comes with, as you can see there, the Mega Boss, 3 Weird Brute Wreckers, 5 Brutes, and 10 Ard Boys. So a solid option for you to drop into your games as well. And not pictured amongst the various articles, we also got, pardon me again, we also got told that there's also going to be a new Path to Glory book. There's not much more detail about that, included as part of the Warhammer community website. So hopefully we'll learn a little bit more about it in the near future. But yeah, some really nice stuff coming out for both the Gitmobs of the Gloomspite Gitz and the Orruk War Clans as well there. So some really good stuff for you to dive into. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below about the various units that are available for Warhammer Age of Sigmar and these 2 new armies. Are you going to be picking up some of these for yourselves? Are you tempted by the Gitmob and all those awesome wolves? Or are you going to stick to the Ironjawz and maybe get your hands on this new spearhead for playing some fun games with them? Yeah, without any more gilding the lily, hopefully that's a nice little rundown of what's going to be available for the Forces of Destruction as we move into the new year. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will talk to you folks in the very near future with even more about what's coming down the road for the Mortal Realms. Awesome. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye for now. Bye, 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 bye.